Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do the pinch pull. The pinch pull is a kind of pull that I teach beginners how to do, and then after they master that, then I move them on to a different kind of pull that I'll talk to you about more here in a second. So with the pinch pull, you have your right hand on the side, you have your left hand on the back, and your fingers on the inside are down all the way to the floor. Every time that you do a pinch pull, your fingers are all the way down, touching the floor on the inside, not pushing down into the floor, just touching it right up against the wall. Your thumb is on the back side about 6 o'clock. And what you're going to do here at the very base is you're going to push in with your thumb, and it's going to create a ring of clay just like that. Now you're probably going to dry the clay out whenever you do this, so you want to make sure anytime that the clay feels like it's dry or sticky, you apply more water, and if you have to stop in the middle of something to apply water, go back to exactly where you left off and apply more water. Now what you're going to do next is you're not going to keep pinching as you come up, because if you keep pinching the clay as you come up, what happens is you will pinch right through the clay, and that will probably happen to you, and you'll remember that clay dropping. Okay, so what you do is you push in, and then you keep an equal distance between your thumb and your fingers, and you keep that all the way to the top. And actually you even do release a little bit of pressure as you're coming to the top. And so this is what it's going to look like. Okay. And now we're going to take care of that rim to round it off like I was speaking of before. You don't want to apply a lot of down pressure whenever you're pushing on the rim, because what will happen is if you push too hard down, the clay walls will blow out the sides. Now, whenever you're throwing cylinders, the reason why I teach people how to throw cylinders first, before I teach them how to throw bowls, it has to do with the way the clay likes to move whenever you're working with it. Clay wants to follow the path of least resistance, which is not only up, but up and out. So whenever you're throwing a cylinder, what I try to teach people to do is keep the clay moving up and in, because if you want to build height, you can't let the clay come out, because then you lose control of the form and you can't make the things that you want to make. So after you learn how to throw a cylinder and control the clay moving up and in, almost like a pyramid, then later you can move on and throw bowls like I'll show in a minute. So now I'm going to show you how to do this other kind of a pull. Like I was saying, I teach people how to do the pinch pull first. It's just an easier way to teach people how to get the clay to move. But after that, I teach them this other kind of pull that is necessary for if you want to make a pot that is taller than what your hand is from here to here. Because if you're doing the pinch pull, and I'll just get this clay to the point so that you understand what I'm talking about. If you were doing a pinch pull, then you're only going to be able to make pots about this tall, because you're not going to be able to reach all the way to the bottom. So if you want to make a taller pot, you're going to have a hand on the inside, a hand on the outside. And your hands are going to be offset a little bit, so that the hand on the inside is just a little bit higher than the hand on the outside, about like this. And so you're going to start off making an undercut on the outside with your fingers. And then you're going to have fingers on the inside, and you're going to bring the clay up just like this. And notice that inside finger does come out first, followed by the outside finger trailing up the back. Okay, take care of the rim. And if there's water that accumulates in the bottom of your pot, you do want to constantly take the water out. Even though you're constantly putting water on the pot and it's gathering in there, you don't want to leave it down there, because water sitting in the bottom of your pot will decompress the floor and cause it to crack. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick here. Say like if you're working on the pot and you did a pull and it comes out like this, and you want to bring it back in, this is what we call collaring in. You get the outside surface of the clay really, really, really wet. You take your hands, form a W like this, and where it's starting to come out, you just bring it back inside. And then from here, if you need to do another pull, you can go ahead and do another pull. I usually try to get people to make a 6-inch cylinder within 3 to 5 pulls. If you're doing it within 3 pulls, you are doing amazing. Beginners, if you're doing it in 5 to 6 pulls, you're doing okay. So now we're just going to clean up the form and finish it. I usually teach beginners how to use wooden ribs from the very start to clean up the forms. And what you do is you start with the bottom corner all the way down, and I'll just show it. It's like right here, but you're going to be working at about 4 o'clock on the pot. So you tear off that clay at the bottom corner, and then your hand's going to be on the inside opposite the wooden rib. And you're not squeezing the clay between the rib, and I'll show you what happens if you do that. But you don't squeeze, you just keep the clay in contact with the rib. It's almost like feeling the clay up to the rib. And so then you start off with your finger all the way down at the bottom, then we're going to come up halfway on the wooden rib. And once we come up halfway, then we're going to start moving up together. Now I'm just going to stop right here for a second just to show you the position of the rib. You have the rib slanted, pointing up and away from you, but also notice that the clay is coming off the side of it. I don't have it directly up against it, I don't have it like this, I have it shaped like this. Now if you keep the form up against the side, notice the little rings that are on the bottom. The only part of the rib that you want to be in contact with the clay is where your fingers are opposite. So I'm just going to start at the bottom again. We're going to do this all the way through to the top, like so. And then, if there is any kind of unevenness to the top, you can take a metal tool and you can cut it off. So, groom the rim, and then I'm going to take a wooden knife, cut a foot, just a nice 45-degree angle, and that can be either a finished foot as it is with a cylinder. After you cut them off and they become leather hard, you can take a little bit of water and just groom it with your thumb or with other tools. You don't really have to worry about it being all nasty like it might become. Or if you are going to actually do a trimmed foot, throwing it back on the wheel when it's leather hard, turning it upside down and trimming a foot with tools, it's still nice to have that. It helps with the cutting the foot off, or cutting the pot off the form. So now, at this point, stop the wheel, take your wire tool, and whenever you're using these, you hold it like this and you wrap it around to where you have your thumbs or your fingers directly down on the wheel head at 12 o'clock, and then you pull straight towards you. You want to make sure that it's not up like this or you'll cut through the pot itself. You pull straight towards you, and then different pots, you pick them up different ways. The easiest way for this is just like this. Now, clean dry hands is one of the tricks to doing this. So if this pot was any wetter on the surface, I might not be able to rock it off the wheel so easily. So at this point I might just go clean my hands if I'm having trouble getting the thing off the wheel. Or if it's still not wanting to release, if it's stuck on there and you cut through it a couple times, one of the other tricks is you put water on the wheel head, you cut underneath it a few times and it'll slide. Now, as you are teaching or learning how to do this, it's not a bad idea to cut through the form and just look for the floor and wall thickness, and consistent 1/4 inch floor and wall thickness is what we go for. Alright.